An AI system had been rejecting resumes for 6 months, thousands of them. Then someone noticed something horrifying. It was systematically excluding anyone who attended a women's college. The scariest part? The company only found out because one engineer broke protocol and shared her concerns publicly. Without that act of radical transparency, bias might still be active today. That's the moment when we realize the true cost of being nice, because AI without radical transparency isn't just risky, it's a ticking time bomb. Here's why. When a human makes a biased decision, it impacts one person at a time. When an AI makes that same decision, it can scale across millions. And it doesn't second guess itself. It doesn't pause to reflect, to consider the specific circumstances of the moment. It just executes instantly and relentlessly. I was consulting with a company that was excited to show off their new AI diagnosis assistant. It's 94% accurate, they told me, beaming. So I asked, what about the other 6%? That's when the room went quiet. Turns out that 6%, what was in that? It was the prime customers, people with complex needs that AI just couldn't handle. No one talked about it, afraid it might undermine confidence in the system. They moved forward anyway. 94% accuracy promised big savings, and they weren't willing to wait. 3 months later, they were facing a lawsuit. The cover up cost them far more than transparency ever would have. Those savings gone, replaced by legal fees, reputational damage, and sleepless nights. AI amplifies everything it touches. Great data leads to great insights. Flawed data leads to disasters. Hidden problems don't stay hidden, they explode in public. That's why we need a new kind of transparency, not the kind that celebrates success stories, the kind that surfaces the uncomfortable stuff. Another term, another team learned this the hard way. They were launching a customer service bot. Internally, they knew the training had bad data. They had biases. They knew the edge cases were tricky. They had long debates behind those closed doors. And yet, stakeholder meetings, yeah, in the stakeholder meetings, all they said was progress is excellent. Just a few in final weeks. And we're done with the tweaks. We're ready to go. And they went live. Day one, the bot asked a grieving customer to verify their deceased spouse's identity. Day two, it offered a discount to someone calling about a family tragedy. And day three, they pulled the plug. Postmortem wasn't hard because the AI failed. It was hard because they weren't honest. They had documented their concerns and kept them internal. They saw the warning signs and talked themselves out of them. Now, they insist every AI team asks the hard questions early. What assumptions are we making? Is that a good idea? Should we be doing that? Well, how about if we add more questions? Not shy away from asking the difficult questions. Bring in more. Like, let's find out who'll be harmed if this fails. Where might there be data biases? What don't we understand about this system? Some teams worry that this will slow them down. That's why there's resistance. In reality, it speeds them up. Point them to the research, like a Google projects Aristotle. Transparent teams catch problems early while they're still easy and cheap to fix. They build trust, which accelerates adoption, and they avoid the major failures that force everything to stop just to clean up the mess. For example, Startup took a radically transparent approach to their AI intake system. They published their training data demographics, shared where the model struggled, and brought in external reviewers. Competitors mocked them. You're giving away your weaknesses. 6 months later, those same competitors were in legal trouble. The transparent startup, they had already fixed the issues. Transparency doesn't just reduce risk, it builds credibility. This matters even more over time. AI systems degrade, they drift, they start making decisions based on new data they weren't trained for. Over the course of 8 months, recommendation engine slowly goes from making some great decisions to being completely off the rails, pushing increasingly extreme content. Sure, engagement metrics soar, but no one was tracking the quality of the engagement until an intern finally raised concerns. Leadership just pushed it off. The algorithm knows what it's doing. And this comes from the certainty that classical computing has created. We expect computers to always execute what we expect. That's not how it works in AI. AI drifts, AI changes over time. So, sure enough, 3 weeks later, the story broke. The algorithm had been radicalizing users. The reputation fallout, immediate, and the company's value dropped overnight. It didn't have to happen. Imagine if they'd said, engagement is rising. We're seeing troubling patterns. Here's what we're investigating. That's radical transparency in action. The hardest kind of transparency, ethical transparency. It means owning uncomfortable truths. When these surface, companies have two options: patch it quietly or go public. When companies choose transparency, they can publish a report, explain how the bias occurred, share their fix, and even invite outside auditors. Well, there may be some hesitation, and of course they're going to brace for backlash. What often follows is actually support. Customers appreciate the honesty. Advocacy groups may step in and offer help. And even competitors sometimes step forward to share their own challenges. In a landscape this complex, transparency doesn't signal weakness, it builds trust. And sometimes admitting failure earns more credibility than years of polished PR ever could. So here's your reality check. Is your AI a black box? Do you document assumptions? When things go wrong, who finds out and how quickly? Start simple. For every AI decision your team makes, document just one assumption. Share it, then watch what surfaces: new questions, new risks, and new opportunities. Because here's the truth: you can build AI with radical transparency, or you can wait for the explosion. In this new reality, transparency isn't a virtue, it's a responsibility. So, what assumption about your AI will you document first? Let us know in the comments. And if you'd like to learn more about how psychological safety prepares teams to face that radical transparency transition, one of these. I'll be happy to tell you all about it.